Spring is probably the most exciting period in any koi keeper's diary. After several months of fleeting moments next to a freezing cold pond, the air temperature starts to rise, and with it, the opportunity to spend more time with our hobby.
For me, it was a trip to Skegness and the seal sanctuary. They got a nice koi pond in there, and I went in and saw it, and I thought, wow, that's really nice. I'd like something like that. I'd like to keep some koi. The next day, I built a little 8x4 wooden pond on the patio out the back out of 2x4 and a couple of boxes of screws, and started looking for some fish to put in it. My wife found a pre-loved. Guy was 8 years old, shutting his pond and getting rid of all his fish, and he didn't want a lot for it. And I said, yep, I'll have them. So went back next day, got them, brought them home, put them in my little 8x4. Literally next day, broke ground on another pond, my second pond. And that was a brick-built one, 7,000 gallons. That was one bottom drain, no skimmer, a lot of rookie mistakes because I didn't know what I was really doing. One little window, 4 foot by 2 foot, which I fell in love with instantly. Best thing I ever spent on that front. But unfortunately, that didn't allow for the weight of the water. And within a couple of years, it sunk 4 inches one end. So I knew it was going to break the back of the pond eventually. So I bit the bullet and decided to build that beastie. And yeah, within a year later, that was done. Six foot deep, and it's about 20,000 gallons or 100,000 litres thereabouts. I've got an Aquadrum 55. It's a large drum filter with 2 moving beds after it. I've got 2 UVs built into it, and that's fed by 3 bottom drains. And then I've got 2 returns, one going through an ozone system when it's on, when I want it on for any reason, and then another going through a heater. So it's a heated pond.
Breeding koi can be a complicated but fulfilling hobby. It certainly opens up a new world of knowledge.
Yeah, that was my next door neighbour's fault. His daughter bought the little bungalow next door and moved in, and she said, my dad's got a pond, would you like to see it? So I went with her one day to see his pond, and he'd got a round metal one above ground, and he was hand feeding his sturgeon, and it was just, I fell in love with it. And he took me into his polytunnel where he bred the babies, and he told me how easy it was. So I thought, you know, I'll have a go at that. A year later, I made a suggestion that he sells his house and moves in with Lynn next door, and bugger, he's my neighbour now. So he built an extension on her house and moved into it, a granny annex. So yeah, we breed them together as a hobby. Sell them on eBay for, you know, $5 a fish sort of thing. Not a lot, considering they're the mummy and daddies in there that I paid a lot more for. But yeah, it's just a hobby, don't make any money at it, but you know, if it pays for the food and electric to run it at the end of the year, I'm happy. So people get to buy nice fish for not a lot.
As like any hobby, keeping koi can have its highs and its lows.
Yeah, unfortunately I bought a fish from somewhere I shouldn't have bought a fish. I mean, it was a reputable company at the time, and I won't mention any names. But yeah, within 3 weeks of getting home, my fish started dropping like flies. You know, started off 1 or 2, then like 4 or 5 a day. Sent off one for testing, and it was KHV. They sold me a fish with KHV, and I'd introduced it to my pond, and ended up, what didn't die, I culled. Because you can't keep them, because they might live, but they're carriers, so you could never put another fish in there. So that was it. Culled them, got the disinfectant, and redid the whole pond, refresh, and yeah, I used it for another couple of years after that, restocked, and didn't have any more problems. But then obviously it started to sink, and that led to this. My advice from my own experience is find somewhere that sells koi that you're happy with and they're a good supplier, and stick with them. Don't go to different shops buying different koi from different places, or especially if you've got a friend who's trying to sell you one from his own pond, or anybody who's closing the pond down. Do not buy a fish from somewhere. If you haven't got the facility to quarantine it for 6 months, then give it a miss. Just buy your koi from one place and one place only, and that's what I do now. So I have one trusted supplier they literally, it's Coastal Koi in Dersingham, Dave and Kate, and a little factory unit, and they've got lots of beautiful fish in there. But when they go to Japan, they literally shut the shop down for a week, go to Japan. When the fish come back from Japan, the shop's in quarantine. You're not allowed to buy a fish, you're not even allowed to look at them. And literally for 6 weeks, they heat ramp up and down, and if there's something wrong with the fish, they'll find it. It's literally that type of service from them. I wouldn't go anywhere else.